safe with me on the job.
All right, let's call this meeting to order. It's Board of Aldermen work session, January 18th, 2023. Thank everybody for coming. First order of business is a pledge of allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, new business. Going to discuss the RFP for a city-owned property, 10 acres at Post and Town Square Avenue. James, you want to take it?
All right, so for tonight's work session, I included for you a RBA that discusses a little bit of the history of the property at Post and Town Square Avenue. As the mayor said, it's 10 acres of open land. It's been referred to recently, I heard, as the bean field, because somebody graciously, I think, puts soybeans on it, plants it on it every year. And no one seems to know who that is. But the city purchased this property back in 2009. And at the time, it was considered to be an integral part of what was uptown plan and much larger development of this Hanley Post Town Square technology area. Since then, there's been a couple presentations, or a couple of proposals that have come about, including a city-led RFP and cooperative attempt to develop the land, I believe Sandstone Group. So as you can see, none of that's ever come to fruition. We have recently received a number of people who have been interested. Oh, also, by the way, it has also been put up for sale by the city previously. There had been no takers, or at least no successful negotiated sale. So as of late, we've received a few interested parties who have decided that they would like to develop that land. In doing so, every time that conversation was started, question's been, what would the city like to see there? We don't have an actual unified answer for that. So what I would like to do is today to have the city Board of Aldermen give some input as to what we would like to see there conceptually. Certainly like to get information as to what we would not like to see there. Some of the hard no's or some of the uses that we certainly think are inappropriate for that spot or for that area, and give us the staff, myself and the mayor, just the direction as to how we would approach people who are interested in this. Now, ultimately, we've been talking about also RFP potentially for that property. So what we could do with this, if the board so chose, this exercise could turn into an actual request for proposals where we would detail at least an outline of a concept the city would like to see at that location. I've already spoke to John Brancaglione from PGAV about this. We could, with your direction, put together a request for proposals that we would ask for both the people who already submitted interest in this property, but then other developers as well, to submit proposals for developing the land. And then at that point, we could choose a partner to move forward with in developing the property or sell it to them outright, however the proposals may come. So with that, I would like to start the conversation with the board giving me some input as to what their vision really is for that. I also did provide you some of the previous visions. I know those were sent out to you. They should be in your packet as well. Some of the previous visions and some of the previous proposals that we've had in the past. But with that, I'd like to really just open it up to have the board let me know what they see as the path forward on that property.
Any thoughts?
my ideal of it all would have been more of an entertainment type venue such as style of maybe brewery, facilities, different entertainment, the ball down there, different things like that. But even with the development of that, I would also say that there would be something to be looked at going farther down in towards Town Square to what properties available there and stuff like that, and what in the future become available. Put some kind of concept together, so you take this whole corner property and extend it all the way down. Not the hodgepodge everything together. I'd like a comprehensive plan to include all that. That would be my vision.
So, had multiple developers come forward in the last few months. One of the things that I'm insisting on is an area that is green space for the city, okay, recreational. Pickleball.
Another thing would be, what's gone over overwhelmingly is area that would hold the food trucks.
You know, a food
People
truck
love
venue,
it,
yes,
you know, so if you put a small amphitheater, you
amphitheater.
could have entertainment, type area.
Like Martin's down at
There was a developer that took James and I out to a development that they did real similar to that. But in addition, they need a commercial space, okay? That they need to make, you know, money on it. Willing to do that with a large portion of it being green space for us.
I also think that to get a good development, gonna have to look at everything going out west there that fits into the same type of development, so they're not going, you know, to attract people to come to that, they want more than one thing. Like the whole corridor, that type of thing. Or restaurants or something. That's for them. Me, that's coming to the city, you got a whole development going all the way down to Town Square, which would be incorporated then with this.
Over time,
But if you don't have a vision there,
right,
it's hard for developers to come in and say, yeah, I'm gonna sink $5 million building, you know, and then nothing.
well, they're willing to hurry, and with what's going on, they're willing to invest quite a bit in that spot. As far as like requiring green space for public use, not sure if that would be a requirement on down.
Right, I'm not saying. That's what I've just. For years that I companies and listened to. That being Town Square and big adult entertainment type.
Can I ask, and I totally agree. I think that we've talked a lot about third spaces and the lack thereof here in Garden Prairie. I think entertainment space, a congregational place, a place where people can come would be amazing right here, because it also brings people in that kind of, say, low impact tourism into Garden Prairie right next to Town Square. So we can use it as a way to just get feet in and increase traffic to Town Square. I'd have a question in the agenda tonight. There was a photo, but it's too grainy to actually read things on here. What is this photo of?
That was one of the concept plans that I referenced in the NRBA that had previously been kind of looked at. I think this one, it's got Luke's stamp on
signature.
it, but I know this was in the file with a cooperative effort that they were engaging Samsung. So, I think this was Luke's kind of response to maybe what was originally, Samsung, or maybe this might have been what Luke gave Samsung as what they were. But you can see there's a little bit of a plaza right there at the corner, then a plaza at the back with a detention basin kind of water feature. A lot of shopping. Up on there, there's essentially retail. And this is also residential over commercial, so this is mixed use. These are mixed use lots envisioned that way.
And it would be nice to see that as a continuation of town squares, like Alderman Johnson was talking about. On the comprehensive plan, we're showing just to the west of that to be single family residential. So that's one of those things we'd have to look at. Is what the future for that parcel is going to be as well, and is it going to be detached? That's not your
Say
understanding.
that again, single family residential, where,
Yeah,
I mean-
on the
oh, on a
comprehensive plan.
comprehensive
Yeah.
plan. Yeah,
So,
right now, I think everything along there is single family residential.
that's the only
Let's see,
one.
That one?
Yeah.
On down?
Besides those that are already established.
Yeah,
But if, I guess there's two ways we could look at it, is either that's a detached destination kind of thing, or look at zoning that as something commercial and give you those the opportunity to sell to a commercial, try to extend town square. But ultimately, what I'd like to see there is something that serves the residents, not necessarily a profit motivator, because it's a city-owned tract of land. So if we are going to find somebody and it should benefit the community.
Mhm.
as a developer.
You don't envision any commercial there.
Not necessarily no commercial. I think there are some commercial uses that will fill needs of the community. But where other areas that we might say, commercial comes in, retail's allowed under C2, so you put retail there and you get what you get. I think this one, since it is city owned, we can say, what's the right type of retail? What does the city really need? Not just what makes the most money. I love the idea of green spaces and things like that. I think that could definitely make that a better destination. But I personally am not against some money that is owned.
The point is bringing the residents here, which will increase the traffic flow. Hopefully bring that out, but I still want to emphasize, if we do something like this, look at a long range vision going down there. Because that corner lot is already for sale now. There are different locations that sell, if somebody came in and offered a price for it, stuff like that, but I think if we have a vision that we can put out there to developers, this is what we're looking for. I think that's gonna bring the developers.
that's kind of why we want to go out with the RFP. We want to detail in the RFP what it is we're looking for. I mean, so as far as the vision all the way down Town Square Boulevard, that important. But that's at a later date. We can't include all of that in this RFP. So, I mean, I can assure
No.
you that these developers that have come forward, that they are more than willing to develop this and give us a lot of green space here. Okay,
Why couldn't you?
what do you mean? What we
Why couldn't
envision, what we
future-
envision down?
Yeah, down the road. I mean, we're not gonna put a stamp on it saying we have to have this here and have to,
Uh-huh.
this is what type of.
Well, that's
stuff
getting,
we want.
that's getting planning and zoning involved with a, comprehensive plan. Okay, so, that's a for the city, but I don't think should include it in the RFP. Okay, we can have discussions about it, that this is what we're thinking. So,
We don't control it, but the problem is it gets to be piecemeal. You look at Mers Farm, same way that there's some different buildings there that could probably be condemned. I'm sure that the ZX station wouldn't mind being condemned. You've got that whole corner at Mers Farm. If a developer really wants to come in and put that together, rather than just build on what's open. We've had too much of that. If you go down Post Road, Bill Lupinghouse's subdivision, he's got one street in. Then there's an old house next to it. At some point in time, that guy's gonna pass and somebody will come in and put another single street in or whatever. It's just being too much piecemeal as we go along. We're letting it roll out and there's not a full plan for what we want to do, what we want to see.
So, Alderman, so if you look at the comprehensive plan, future land use says that all that's just gonna be family residential, so that's not a lot to it, they're just gonna put houses there. Now, if we're looking to deviate from that, and I agree, and this is already planned for a future work session, to have a conversation about comprehensive vision plan for that corridor. I think there needs to be a conversation about how that whole corridor we expect it to develop, and not just land use, like a comprehensive plan, but actually talk about more specifics about how we want the look and feel of it to be. Not talking about redoing this uptown plan or anything like that per se, but to have a vision for what it is we want to see along that corridor, the types of businesses, types of buildings, how we want the look and feel of it to be, and promote that both through development, both seeking developers, and so developers know when they're looking at those properties, this is what the city wants to see. That you can, and some places they have put out RFPs for land they don't own, but then it would be upon the developer to just see those lands, develop it. But I think to the mayor's point, that's a big process that we want it to be inclusive, we want it to be transparent, we want it to include members of P and Z, we want it to include members of the neighborhood, the community. So that is something I think that we need to do. And that's something the mayor and I have already discussed for a near future conversation, probably the next work session. John Brancaglione, and I'll be forwarding you tonight several plans from other cities for their like downtown. John B's getting me a couple more. But yeah, that helps developers avoid things like we're going through right now at Bryan and Pfizer. We don't want we want the community to be bought into it. We want developers, we want everybody to know this is what we want. It's not a surprise. There's a proposal. So we want that buy-in, and we want that direction from the city. This 10 acres is the key to that. I think there's a lot of conversation for a long time that this should be a destination of some sort that will end up being the catalyst for whatever you decide to go, east and west from there, along Town Square. But we do, and just maybe we do have some real interested people right now, and they could be part of this vision planning too.
Well,
We need some real.
I'm all in favor of doing it,
Creativity on
because we're on the record that the next work session, we will continue the conversation because I don't want to let it drop.
Absolutely.
Can I ask, you say that there's been a lot of interest. From those interested parties, are there any concepts that have been floated? I mean, if we have great stuff on the table right now, I assume this is still listed for sale. If we have perfect design already, or someone who wants to come and do something amazing, maybe go through the RFP process, or do you have something that they have presented that you can share?
There's nothing that's much. They're looking for information. I mean, they're looking for, before they spend $25,000 on artist renderings, drawings and say, hey,
Mhm.
what do you think? And you're like, no, I don't like
That's
that.
not what we want.
I mean,
No,
that's just,
and I
that's why
guess
we
I'm
gotta
not-
give them direction.
and I'm not looking for that, more of
But
a,
that's what they're gonna
hey,
do.
what about, a business with pickleball courts and, some playground for kids or something like that. I mean, they have to have an idea of what they're thinking, or could just help us with it. They're the experts.
I've showed them some concepts in other states. They were happy to, yeah, we can do something. But without an RFP, I'm not asking them to spend any money. Come to the city.
There's been a lot of
Yes,
spitballing. I mean, that's really what it's all been at this point. You know? Guys, think about this. Sure. You know, what I really need from you guys is to avoid, so we can avoid an issue that we're having right now with no property. I would like to know what interests you, which I think we're getting to what interests you. But I also need to know like the hard no's. So if you're gonna tell me like, there's gonna be no residential over commercial, there's no multifamily, there's no this, there's no that, you know. We would like to see maybe conceivably 50% green space, 20% residential, over 30% commercial. You know, those are the sorts of things, just some round ideas maybe, then they can lay it out for us. Then they'll use their creativity and their
Sure.
expertise to lay it out. But if they say, hey, the only way we're gonna make this work is we've got to throw some, the only way we're gonna get the retail is if we get some residential. The only way we're gonna get any of this green space to work is if we make some money off the property. So, but I don't want them to be just shooting in the dark.
No, I agree. I think it's more important to have the guardrails and the hard nose than
Yeah.
it is. Yeah, I mean, want it to be a destination, want it to be kind of first.
I would
It's
say,
that part of the road, but I wouldn't go out and be like, hey, do this. I want a food truck spot, then you're gonna get a food truck spot. That
Right,
may not be the
exactly.
best thing, so
Exactly.
I like to use creativity.
I don't
I'd have
mind
to
giving
think
them a
about it.
list of things, you know, entertainment venues, including but not exclude, you know, including but not limited to pickleball, amphitheater, food truck destination, and they can pick and choose, and, you know. But I think those are the things that we've kind of, they've spitballed already, but it's gonna come down to,
I would say.
can we put
would
some,
have-
we put some apartments over some businesses?
we-
And that's
we
what
should ask
originally
for
planned.
50%.
That'd be hard now.
Space.
I think we should add for 50% green space. Now, they come back and say, we can only give you 35% green space because we have to develop this, you know, that's something we look at. I think for our initial plans, we ought to ask for 50% of it. In green space and do whatever we need, pickleball, amphitheater.
We say green space, let's look, we mean community
Community
space.
space.
Yeah,
I'm
okay.
sorry.
Yeah.
Means-
So if you start putting requirements like that on it, then I guess my question is the city willing to give it away or contribute the land or accept a very low price? Because ultimately, it's gonna come down to, can I make money on doing this deal? And if the city wants premium for the land, I can't afford to pay you that. If you want 50% green space, and I need a 50% discount on the land.
That's the other, so there'll be some conversations, and this is where I'd like some hard nose, not hard nose, but with the right proposal, we have opportunities to, at this point, donate the land, but also depending on the arrangement between the city and the developer, have the ability to hold title, which keeps them from having to pay the taxes on it. We also have opportunities, if we do have recreation space, to use our recreation funds to have them as public amenities that we still hold, but maybe they own commercial or residential commercial around the periphery of the public plazas. And so we're not requiring them to pay for, maybe require them to develop it as part of donating the land to them. But going forward, maybe we put park money toward it, put park maintenance money toward it. We have our own people go over there and snow plow it, you know, with our machines. They're just half a block away.
I think that makes it more attractive in getting what the city wants out of it. Because, you know, if we're gonna have a certain amount reserved for green space or community space, that's obviously not revenue generating, so there's gotta be some trade-off. So I like that idea. I think good pedestrian access, you know, entertainment, type of uses. And then also promoting the connectivity to Town Square. And if we do future road improvements down Post Road, that's got to be considered. If we make that a 3-lane road or, put sidewalks in. Got to think about that future expansion as well.
So Mike, Alderman Costa, I heard the hard no on the multifamily. Is that sentiment shared by everyone? Because that's going to come up.
They will absolutely not develop without multifamily, well, with the apartments above, they won't do it.
But
So,
what
I
about,
mean, there's no,
what about actual condos that are separate from,
Well, one of them, actually, that was what one developer did
Did.
say was
I
condos.
mean, that would be somebody that's gonna buy
Yeah.
and live there, you know?
Yeah.
I mean, it's not an apartment, it's a condominium above retail space.
Mhm.
I mean,
and that's basically what they want to do is residential.
but I'd say apartments, no,
So-
I'm totally against apartments.
Kind of like a
At this-
Bar Louie's development.
At the same time, I don't know that I would make such a bold claim as to say no one's going to,
The
Develop
ones that
that
have come forward.
no one's going to develop that without some kind of apartment building. When you have a city piece of property and we have an attractive package to say, hey, you buy it, you develop it, we'll give you these kind of incentives, we'll give you land, we'll give a discount price, we're going to maintain part of it. Those are all within that package, makes it more and more attractive to a developer who has a business in mind or a concept that could benefit from being right next to a city park essentially, with public accommodation, an area where you're artificially increasing foot traffic. I don't think I would discount that awfully.
We can put it out there, but I can tell you just in the conversations that today developers, they say that they cannot make money in pure retail.
Well, I'm not talking about retail.
Well, retail, restaurant, whatever, commercial, whatever. I mean, the old strip mall concept is gone. There's no one building strip malls anyway.
And then,
So,
I didn't say anything
I
about
mean,
strip malls.
our.
either.
So,
I would certainly say it'd be a hard no on apartments.
Yeah.
And that I would be open to entertain. The people would own them.
Maybe largely, for me, it largely depends on, are they buying the land, or not?
Mm.
If they're buying the land at a discount, I think you can acquire a lot of these. But having first floor retail, commercial with apartments above it, paying who's for the land. Kind of hard for us to tell, well, no, especially. Probably wouldn't be fence based. So. I wouldn't necessarily tell them a hard no, I would certainly tell them preference is for condominiums and ownership, but I wouldn't. It'd be hard.
People come to Garden Prairie, build a house, raise a family. There's no apartments here at this point, maybe 1 or 2. That's why people are moving here. They don't want to see those high-rise apartments. They don't want to see the commercial on 1 floor and 2 levels of apartments above it. Just, it doesn't fit what our city, we're changing the look of our city and the attitude of our city. I don't know that that's right.
I think if we put out an RFP with the clear focus of the RFP being entertainment, destination, pedestrian access, community space. Maybe somebody gets creative and has a concept that has a housing component that's not bad. But somebody that's coming in and just wanting to build apartments with as their main focus and
Yeah,
then
yeah.
just sprinkle in something
I
for
agree.
just to make the city happy, they're not gonna go for it. I think
Yeah.
this is gonna attract the type of developer that puts together destination and entertainment types of uses. And maybe they have a housing component. But it's gonna scare away your typical apartment developer, if you word it right.
This is one of those things that we would like to go outside the box of who's just floating around here today, recently of years, past few years. Building, you want somebody that's got that creativity, somebody who's can bring something different to Garden Prairie. Something that we've seen maybe in other places, but yeah, we're part of the hope of this RFP is to be able to push that out to that person.
And if you're putting it out such that the city's willing to come to the table and participate in for the right project, a public-private partnership, city will get involved, whether that's a discounted land price, some creative finance options that we could do on the land. Then I think there's going to be developers more willing to take the risk on maybe the type of development that they wouldn't do elsewhere if they had to pay full price for the ground or didn't have the city's backing behind it.
Draft something up then. And send it out to us.
So with this in mind, what I'm gonna do is I've already been talking to John Brancaglione. We're going to put together an RFP and we'll put it out to the board for you guys to review. With the hope in mind of articulating, then we'll get that get that out to people that we think will be the right kind of developer. Give us what your vision would be. And then we'll start taking proposals. So after this, basically the next step will be to talk to John B, put together a draft of something, get it to the board. Board signs off on it, we'll get it out. Proposal will work with Next Site, who's a consultant that provides some of our economic development data, push that out to some of the developers that use outside of this area, some of the people through the ICSC. I don't.
I have something else to throw out there that's kind of beyond the scope of this, but tied into it, is we've talked about future expansion of Post Road, doing that as a road project. Seems odd to me that we have Hanley running straight into Post Road and there's just this small section that's Post Road in between Technology Drive and Town Square Avenue. Is there a reason that we have to maintain Post Road, or could we make it Hanley all the way through, rename it, and kind of provide some more continuity through that stretch as we do those road improvements?
I'm in total agreement.
Makes no sense to me why we have Post Road.
Communities where the names of
it's
the
like
road
everything
changed every couple
Yeah.
blocks.
Like, let's go, Hanley's one of the larger main roads through our city. Why not just take that all the way out? And then people know Hanley Road, that's Garden Prairie. I'm entering Garden Prairie. Post Road just doesn't
You
really
know,
give us any noticeability.
to his point, and go to the road improvements on that, that can also be a type of entrance into Garden Prairie. The signage too. That I would look at.
I think
Know what I mean?
it occurred to me as we're talking about this and, developing that, and I think this piece of ground is staple for the city that we can build around, increasing connectivity to Town Square, City Hall. We're gonna do Post Road, like, I think it makes all the sense in the world to just rename Post Hanley and take it through.
I think that's a good
Well, I
conversation,
think it's-
especially to
yeah.
have with the vision.
Mhm.
When we have that
We would
conversation
kinda-
about the vision.
We can throw it out there, see what kind of days, nays get from residents.
Mayor, why don't we include that as part of the greater conversation about vision document? Talking about, so. I know we do have a closed session we need to talk about briefly, but I will send you all of you an email about synopsis of the comments that I've heard from you guys tonight. And I'll also send it to John Brancaglione. And if you guys have additional conversations or additional thoughts that come about, feel free to let us know. We can make sure we can include that in the RFP. For the next work session, what Alderman Johnson alluded to, I'd like to have a conversation about that very thing, and I've pulled up just before this meeting some examples for the mayor, but I will send them out to the whole board for the next meeting. Having not just the document, but process for creating the document, which is really important, that would be inclusive and open, get input to include leaders in the area, planning and zoning, HOAs, affected communities, neighborhoods around us. To really define broader than just land uses. Color-coded parcels on a map doesn't tell a developer a whole lot when he wants to spend a lot of money on what I'm gonna put in this corridor. And to the point that Alderman Wanley made, it is very piecemeal through there now. We're going to have a defined vision for that corridor, and if we want some of those properties to develop, they're gonna need to develop with an understanding that maybe the parcels next to them will develop along with them or in conjunction with them. Or maybe some of these developments, we do need to push for an expansion maybe of developments such as the farm property, not leave parcels not included in development, which might make them later on hard to develop or redevelop. So this will all be part of that conversation. I'm going to send out a few examples to you before the next meeting, and also some ideas on how the processes have gone. So I'll give that to you guys this week. That way we can spend a little bit of time reading it and digesting it, and we can have a conversation about next steps with that. And John Brancaglione is happy to come part of that conversation too. He's been involved in that as I have. We and I were involved in it together in previous cities. But he can kind of give you an idea of how that process would work with them. Does that sound good? Fine.
Hey,
We do have a closed session.
got some things to discuss, in closed session, for litigation and privileged communications, section 1, we had a motion to go into closed session.
Open session pursuant to RSMO 610.021, section 1. Is that it?
Second. First by Justin, second by Mike. Hey, Kim.
Alderman Weidling.
Aye.
Alderman Underbach.
Aye.
Alderman Sansone.
Aye.
Alderman Riley.
Aye.
Alderman Johnson.
Aye.
Alderman Kessler.
Aye.
Okay, so please be patient with us. We're going to go into closed session, and as soon as we get out, we'll start our regular meeting.
Is it Leslie Morgan? Thank you. Oh.
Yeah. Well, you know.
Yeah, I know, it's right. Not there. Yeah. I've been told I'm a third person I know. No, it's definitely have to get used to it.
Leaving a cup of coffee up there. It's kind of hard to, you know. I can tell. No comment in car business. Oh, yeah.
That's how you saw you on TV.